We spoke to around the country. I know there's other devices in play at the moment, but I know it's string to the bow for a doctor to make an assessment, and essentially it's like a little video game that you put on your head. Detects the electrical pulses in the brain. It's a EEG, which is old system, which is just redetermined into a small little mobile package.
So anybody can basically use this. You don't have to have a specialist training.
A healthcare professional has to administer it because it's a medical device, so a physio or a nurse or a doctor. At the moment, the studies, it's FDA clear already to be used as a medical device, but at the moment, the studies are between ages 12 to 44. So the studies are ongoing. We're going to try and push that out a lot further on both sides, but at the moment, that's what it's been to do between ages 12 and 44.
Next steps. What's the next steps for Nurochek?
We'd like to talk to anyone and everyone and get it wherever we can around New Zealand so it can be used. Again, that professional game, there's a doctor on the side to make the decision. This is just a tool that's used to help the doctor make it. If you get knocked down in a game of club rugby now, you'll go to an A&E on a Saturday afternoon, wait there for 4 hours to see a doctor. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, and then you get given a pamphlet. A doctor who hasn't seen the hit, hasn't seen what's happened in those immediate minutes afterwards, is pretty much flying pretty blind. So, I mean, with this, it takes 400,000 data points in those 2 minutes, and then uses AI to determine yes or no. So, it's taking data from the brain that can only be beneficial, right, in the long run going forward. So,
Michael, do you want to
Yeah, I just want to elaborate on this. Is 100-year-old technology of EEG and VEP. So VEP is the light stimulus at the front here, 15 hertz flickering light. EEG is the brain biomarkers here, compacted into an AI headset. And as Steve said, the test is done in 2 minutes. It sends the data to the cloud. The AI or the machine learning assesses the actual biomarkers of 400,000 and determines of whether you're concussed or not. The statistics are alarming. We mentioned before about thousands, in the millions, right? Globally, there are 50 million sufferers of concussion per year. 10 million are in sports. But the alarming statistics is more than 50% are undetected and undiagnosed. So just imagine that is doubled. In New Zealand, we looked at the New Zealand market, more than 35,000 people suffer from concussion. Again, more than 50% are undiagnosed or undetected. Sports represents 20% of the total concussion. You've got home falls, motor vehicle accidents, military training. So whilst we start in sports, our aim is to get in the hands of everyone that is exposed or to concussion. And one of the important things is, whilst elite sports has professional doctors diagnosing concussion, as Steve said, at community and amateur level, there is no professional doctor. So we want to take the player or the patient out of harm's way as quick as possible. We don't claim to solve how you get concussed or the frequency of concussion. We want to take it out of harm's way, or the person out of harm's way, as quick as possible. Because the second impact could lead to death or fatal brain bleeds as well. So our aim, sorry. So one of the important things is, it's not thousands and thousands of dollars, which is a typical brain scanning technology that costs between 50 to 100,000 plus. We want to make it affordable and accessible to everyone in the actual, in the public realm, sports or in terms of healthcare.
So what sort of cost are you looking at?
We're looking at $30,000 for the actual device, and every time you do a test, it's $30 per test. We're also looking at sponsorship as well. All sporting clubs have some form of sponsorships. Go beyond the sponsoring of your logos on Guernseys or at the clubhouse. Why not sponsor the well-being of the kids playing their sport they love? Interesting, when I was at the All Black Centre, Steve said to me, every kid in New Zealand wants to perform the haka. And I asked him, does every parent want them to perform the haka? That's the problem we're facing today. Parents are a bit worried to let their kids play contact sports. What we're here is to really aid and give that peace of mind. That's all we should.
Fantastic. This is Michael, by the way. He's the CEO of Nurochek. So thank you so much for sharing that. We will take some questions very shortly. Thank you, Michael. Round of applause. So, anything else you want to add to that?
No, it's yeah, he talks a lot better than I do, doesn't he?
Well, he knows his stuff. I understood every single word he was saying, all those kinds of things. So just to recap, you've had a wonderful career. You're still having a wonderful career away from rugby, but now this is another area that you're going forward in, and it's looking quite exciting as well.
Yeah, like, you know, I did it tough for a few years, and there's a lot of people that do, and it's not just rugby or rugby league, it's motor vehicle accidents, it's motor racing, equestrian, BMXing. I mean, concussion is around New Zealand, unfortunately, 35,000 people a year, and probably that again undetected, so we got to get better. I know the impact it can have on the brain, and we've got to get better at dealing with it, and that's, I guess, where my passion comes from, about maybe helping out. You know, messages on my phone every day now since we've sort of come out of the media with people, random people. We've got a message today from an ex-SAS soldier who's struggling with concussion from blasts. We're gonna try and catch up tomorrow. We're gonna try and catch up tomorrow for a chat. But yeah, there's a lot of people struggling with it. So we're just trying to get a little bit better dealing with it, I hope.
Knowing what you know now, and when you started again, would you do anything different with your rugby?
I would play. I say to I don't let my kids play rugby. I say to all people that the benefit you get from playing a team sport is way outweigh what may happen with an injury. Junior sports, the chances of a kid getting knocked out under 12s or below is very, very low. They're more likely to do it on a skateboard or a scooter or a push bike. So just the benefits of playing a team sport for a young boy, I found with my kids is way outweigh any risk of injury. And you know what, kids, bones heal. We're just got to get a little bit better at protecting post-injury, and I definitely do what I did again. What I would do, I would definitely stop a bit sooner. In 2006, when I first started to get knocked around a little bit, I felt it was more than what I suffered in the past. When I really started to struggle, that's when I should not do it again.
What about your ankles?
I may get a couple of surgeries here and there. Right? I get frequent flyers. I think Stu Walsh, who's just up the road, I think I'm on number 17 surgery from Stu. So I get some good frequent flyer points.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, bloody astounding listening to what Steve and Michael had to say. Any questions from the floor?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, now that you've found out what's wrong, do you have to have ongoing treatment, or do you?
So the thing that stopped my migraines was Botox. So I had a neurologist that suggested Botox. So
I looks so
I know that this is real. So I get injections in my head, in my temples, and then right up the back of my neck, where the skull sits on the top. And initially they were about 8 weeks, then 10 weeks, 12 weeks, and now I'm out to about 2 years. I'm very fortunate that worked for me. I went from having, like I said, 3 or 4 migraines a week to all of a sudden after a week of, gee, I have a headache this week. So sometimes I feel like I still have a migraine, where I feel sick and sometimes I vomit, but I don't have the blowing headache. So I can live that. I'm pretty comfortable with that. That's a hell of a lot better than where I was.
Great question. Anybody else?
Yeah, Steve, I've got a grandson that's very involved with BMX. Unfortunately, he's got a broken pelvis at the moment, but he's had 4 concussions. And every time he has one, of course, has a bad hit, it's another $900 for the helmet. But he's also got these headaches that he gets afterwards too. So I'm pleased you mentioned BMX. It's pretty dangerous, that sport.
Yeah, it can be, and if he's still getting headaches, he really needs to step back. I try to do too much, and everyone I talk to tries to do too much, tries to get back to where they were. It's like a broken leg. Just because you can't see, you just got to give it some time, and he's got to step back and start. The new 21-day protocols are so good, where you start with general exercise, and if that's too much, then you step back and do nothing. General exercise is alright, and you progress to some heavy exercise. If that's alright, then you progress. But if at any stage you get headaches and don't feel well, then you go back 1 or maybe 2 steps. And it's just the time. The brain needs some time to heal, and it's just going to give it some time.
Take how long is your grandson?
He's 19.
Oh, wow.
He's been doing it since he was 3.5. So, yeah.
And, yep.
Thanks for that information, Steve. You mentioned about physios and nurses and doctors. There's been a sort of a growing lack of physios being on the sidelines on weekends over the years, and even medical staff for local provincial games. Just in terms of Mike's thing and in this unit, has there been approaches to like maybe the Physiotherapy Society or ACC in terms of maybe trying to be able to get these through the different clubs or get them through medical practices or physiotherapy clinics?
Yeah, we've been talking to clubs, Ponsonby and Papatoi have come to us, so we're open to talking to all the clubs, but we're also talking to Habit Health, who's New Zealand's biggest physio. I think we've got 130 physio clinics across New Zealand, so we're in chats with them to get it. If we get into the physios, it's like Dr. Stephen Carroll also said, he feels it's a better option to go through the physios. If it comes back as yes, then let's get that person with that information to a doctor to ultimately assess it. But at least like to see a doctor, you can be 5 to 8 days. You just see a sports doctor like Stephen Carroll in 3 months. So let's assess it at a physio level. If it progresses and it's getting worse, then let's shove it up the chain to physios. That's what he thinks would be a good model. The aid can detect and assess concussion up to 5 days post-injury. So there's a little bit of leeway. We're hoping to push that out as well a bit further with some more studies, but up to 5 days at the moment it's clear. So that's a good stepping stone.
Just as an adjunct to that, it was actually a physio that actually started the protocols for concussion and assessing concussion in the first place. But just as a thing maybe to Mike, I know this is for an acute type situation. Has it got a projection for looking at, because a lot of these things progress to encephalopathies and those sorts of things. Is there a progression that this will become more for a longer based head injury or encephalopathies or things like that? Can it be devised for that, or is it basically for an acute concussion situation?
We get asked that question quite a lot because it is a brain scan. So we are exploring it. We want to focus on concussion or mild traumatic brain injury first. But as you can see here, concussion is just one application of this brain scan. So the future is what we're looking at is other in terms of what can we detect, for instance, early stage dementia, etc. But we don't want to announce it, we don't want to claim it first. Let's just focus on the immediate problem today is concussion, and it's a significant global problem.
Anybody else?
EEG or like a scan, like a picture, or what will show after that analysis with the machine?
Once it goes up to the cloud and the AI does its assessment of what it is, it comes back onto a computer laptop, and it says it's basically a bar and it says yes or no, red or green if you're concussed or not. So the data collection point would be somewhere, and someone somewhere would be able to look at that. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Let me answer it. I'm going to just lay up here, that's okay. So, to answer your question, so the VEP is the visual light stimulus, right? That's the flickering light. So we go through the actual visual stimulus to activate in terms of the brain activity at the back here. Now, we don't have the soft sensors in it, which in the packet is, so you remember that brain scanning with 30 sensors or wires hang out. We've compacted into 5 soft sensors. That's where it analyzes the 400,000 data points. those data points or those biomarkers get sent to the cloud. So it's not left on the laptop or in the device. In the cloud, as Steve said, that's where the machine learning analyzes 400,000 data points to give you a binary result is whether you're suspected of concussion or not.
Are you guys ready to go to the market with it?
We are.
We can buy it right out.
We are ready to go with it. So FDA clearance permits us to commercialise or be in market in the US. New Zealand MedSafe 1 recognises FDA. And so we're working with physio clinics and clubs. City kickboxing as well was a recent one, and also in terms of event ambulance as well. So it's not just limited to sports, it's outside of that. One of the other research that we're looking at as well in Australia and we'll look for in New Zealand as well is retirement village and aged care clinics. We've been advised that an average of 24s or head bumps in aged care facilities per week. It's a big problem.
Cool.
A lot of people in elderly villages have falls.
Back there.
Is there any figures out on which sport has the biggest percentage of concussions?
There's no, in Australia, if I can quote Australia, there's no national surveillance system in Australia, but the Institute of Sport in Australia, they estimate 180,000 concussion. Number one is motorsports. Number three is a little game called AFL. Number four is rugby union and league. I didn't think about it or I didn't guess it. Number two is equestrian and horse racing. Number two.
What about soccer? With the heading?
Yeah, soccer doesn't make the statistic in terms of the top five, but we know that now in I think UK they're now banning heading the ball after ages of a certain. What age is it?
I think below under 16 level in Europe is no heading of the ball allowed.
Wow. There you go. Very interesting. Anybody else?
Yeah, just one more. The older you get, they say it's the more vulnerable you get to, like when you talked about retirement homes and rest homes, like young people obviously got a little bit of durability, but when you fall over, say down the stairs and you're older, are you more susceptible to get concussion than say a 4-year-old falling down the stairs? Or is that too awkward?
Well, that's a good question. Now, there's many variables in terms of the cause of, in terms of how receptive you are to concussion, whether it's age, whether it's your lifestyle, are you dehydrated or not, are you a drinker and you're a smoker. So we are doing the research outside or beyond the 44 years of age to look at that data.
But you probably are a little bit more susceptible as you get a bit older to injury, whether it's the head or the body.
Tell the people what concussion is, and people don't actually know what it is. You explain that to the people.
That's beyond my knowledge in terms of that's where the founder and the doctor has actually, it would be best to answer that.
Fundamental of, I mean, that's what's happening, the brain is being bruised.
Yeah.
It's the brain. So essentially, what I understand of it, and I'm not a doctor, but it's the sudden impact where the brain accelerates into the inside of the skull. So it's the brain hitting the inside of the skull, which bruises it and then bounces. So sometimes it can be front and back. So it's that impact, sudden stop, boom, the brain jams into the skull and then causes a chemical imbalance, possibly to a state where it's shaken up enough that it needs a bit of a rest, a bit of a repair is the best I can do.
It's also important to note that concussion is not necessarily an impact to the head. It could be the body, it could be whiplash as well. And that's the issue with the undetected or undiagnosed, not necessarily the direct impact.
Peter?
What about American football?
NFL.
In terms of the NFL, the concussion, see, because it's the brain hitting the inside of the skull, it's not essentially, you can have a helmet on, But if you still have a sudden impact, your brain's still going to hit the inside of your skull, which causes the same problem. So, some studies have been done. This has been used with AFL in America because it is such a huge contact sport.
So that actually begs the question then. So we encourage, particularly our kids playing rugby league and rugby, to wear those. Are they doing anything?
So,
my name is Malcolm Hood. I was on the medical advisory committee for the New Zealand Rugby Football Union, and we did a big investigative study on the use of helmets, looking at it reasonably neutrally, but with the idea of possibly introducing helmets, and helmets are actually more contraindicated than not having helmets, because they're often used as a weapon, and as everybody has said, it's the brain sloshing forward and hitting a little bony point at the back of the skull, inside the skull, that is the main cause of concussion. So helmets are worse.
Just the normal headgear.
Sorry?
Does that assist in any way?
Normal headgear will help with laceration. In other words, if you put a headgear on, you don't get a cut on the face. And it's pretty much the same with helmets on bicycles too. But the added advantage of helmets on bicycles is that it's a visibility thing. You can see a kid wearing a pink or bright green helmet in a distance. If they're not wearing a helmet, you're less likely to see them. So there is a preventative factor there. But I think it's after 15k on a bicycle, its impact, your chances of not getting a concussion is almost negligible. And at 30k, you're probably going to die.
That's optimistic.
Well, on that friendly note, any other questions? That's an intriguing subject, I know. Anything else? Well, ladies and gentlemen, just on your behalf, thank you so much to Steve Devine and to Michael as well. I'm trying to do better than that. I'll get Grant to come forward to thank our guest speaker. Thank you, Michael.